Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Safe House, brought to you by the SafeHouse Initiative. I'm Jeff Edwards, co-chair of the SafeHouse Initiative and your host for today's podcast. I am thrilled to kick off the SafeHouse Summer Series Special, the top 10 common flaws in incident response. I'll be joined by my first ever guest co-host, Alex Waintraub, as he guides us on a 10-week, 10-guest odyssey that he conceived, designed, organized, and graciously contributed this amazing body of work to the SafeHouse Initiative. Alex and his guests are experts in incident response and have hard-earned lessons and scars to prove that they have earned the right to be here to share with us some of the common flaws that we'll see. And so this summer, we're going to welcome Alex as our guest co-host. Alex, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, why don't you get settled in here and share a little bit about your background with the audience so they get acquainted with you.
Sure. So, everyone, my name is Alex Waintraub. I am by trade an incident responder. I have worked on several hundreds, if not thousands, of cyber incidents throughout my career. Starting off my career, I went and worked for a company called Movado Group Incorporated, the watch company, and I was their global IT operations specialist. And after about a year of working in Mimics and AS400 language, yes, as a 20-some-odd-year-old, I was working on IBM iSeries, doing AS400 language, helping out with tape libraries and backups and stuff like that, their help desk, etc. I realized that that wasn't the thing I wanted to do throughout my career, so I went over to B&H Photo, becoming their one of their IT security analysts. And that's really where my career trajectory went up. I went over to Booz Allen Hamilton and was a senior consultant and one of their security engineers over there, working on a lot of the biopharmaceuticals and some security agencies. And from there, it just went forward up. I mean, today is May 13th, and I just realized that today is the anniversary of one of my first cyber attacks, WannaCry. And I remember it clearly, Jeff, waking up on that Friday morning and a lot of my organizations I was doing security monitoring for being down and having to start my incident response plan and getting into the response plan, start doing all the investigation, the triage, and getting all the way to getting the company back up and running. Wow. And then moving over to Barclays and Bank of New York Mellon, going over to Arete, and really doing a lot of the ransomware, business email compromise, network intrusion incidents over at Arete. And then most recently working for a startup called Cygnus that was a secure out-of-band incident command center or incident response tool. And so now I am working as a subcontractor, doing several ransomware incidents and doing research and learning new parts of the industry. And I'm just excited to come on to the SafeHouse Initiative to talk a little bit about my white paper / research paper that I've done over the last year in talking about the 10 most common flaws in cyber incident response planning.
Yeah. So, Alex, when I came across you a few weeks ago, and immediately, when we chatted, I was like, well, this is a very interesting concept in terms of the 10 flaws. Everybody wants to, hey, here's the things you do. Well, here are the flaws that happen. Here's why. And what I really loved was he had this whole thing laid out with multiple guests, actually one for each of the 10 flaws. Can you tell about the inspiration and some of the thoughts on that? And most importantly, what are the 10? And then we can talk a little bit more about maybe some of the guests, but let's talk about the 10, what inspired you, that type of thing.
Sure. So about a year and some ago, I was doing some research with ChatGPT. AI became the new thing, and ChatGPT was this big topic and still is a very big topic. AI is such a huge component now of a lot of people in the industry. Yeah. And all the new tooling coming out has AI, special AI related to the new tool. Oh, it's amazing. But what I wanted to do is do some research to see if ChatGPT can actually create an incident response plan and one that worked, that could be executed during an incident crisis. And what I was able to do was find, based on all the about 3 months of research, was there was a high possibility it could, but there was so much risk in data that you would have to share with the AI that it wasn't really worth the chance of providing the AI so much content of yours to the point where, it knows all your secrets. It knows what you're going to be using on your endpoints. It knows what type of firewall you use. It knows who you're going to contact. It knows your insurance plan. It knows basically everything about you. And I didn't feel like it was doing a great job at providing a well and in-depth response plan when the plan was built out off of content that might not be actually real.
Yeah.
And so then I went into, well, over the years, I've seen about hundreds, if not thousands, of incident response plans. What were like the biggest issues I saw with plans that maybe AI can solve for?
Yeah.
So then I went into all the different pros that AI can solve for on an incident response plan without giving over that sensitive data.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, there are conversations I was having with a lot of people within the industry, and they said, well, there are a lot of pros, but look at all the flaws that you would have in your playbook if you did that. If you did, you added in this piece from the AI. And I was like, well, let me look at all the flaws that I've seen. And I came up with 10 of them. I actually came up with 15 of them or 20 of them. And I cut it down to 10 because it sounded better. And really the motivation that came from this paper was not only the AI side, but I saw an article from SentinelOne that came out that said that in 2019, 46% of organizations had response plans. And then in 2023, only 62% of companies had a response plan. You're looking at 40% of the industry with all these cyber attacks still out there, unaware that they need a response plan in place to feel comfortable or even guide them or give them the confidence of responding or recovering their business. There's so many steps that take place. Without one of those steps taking place, you fall down. You can't really skip a step. You just fall down 3 steps and you got to get yourself back up. Like my son, whenever he trips, he falls down and somehow slides backwards and not forwards. And now he's got to get back up and walk those few steps to get to that place. And if there's something in the way, he for some reason doesn't look at the thing that's in the way and goes, hey, that's the reason I tripped. He trips over it again. And so until someone moves it out of the way, it's like a broken recording. We're just continuously just tripping over the same thing. And so that's really where this whole motivation of the response flaws came out.
Yeah. Well, why don't you give us the list of 10, and on a screen we'll list those as you go through it. And then let's circle back and talk about a couple of the guests, because there's some very interesting people. All the guests are fantastic, but a couple have some extremely interesting backgrounds. So, Alex, what are the 10? If you're
so let's break down the 10, Jeff. I think you're going to like these.
All right.
The first one is the one that I just said from SentinelOne. You don't even have a plan.
Yeah.
Right. That's a pretty big flaw. Like, there are a lot of companies that don't have. That's 40% of companies don't have a plan at all.
Yeah.
The second one goes more in depth. It goes to like, how do I define my roles and responsibilities for the different teams? Right. That's a pretty interesting one. We'll have a really good talker there.
Yeah.
And then we're going into, once you have your teams, they're sort of siloed out and disconnected, discombobulated, because they don't know who to communicate with. They've been so isolated. The response, maybe tabletop exercises have been ran, but they've been siloed. So nobody knows what they really need to do or who they need to communicate with.
Okay.
And then there's communication strategies that are just inadequate, using your Teams and Slack and using your business email. We can go into some really fun stories there that I've been quoted on cyber incidents that took place, and they were using their business email that caused a lot of fun situations to take place.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the legal side. We'll have a lawyer come on and talk a little bit about legal engagement and regulatory compliance.
All right.
Talk some third-party external providers about how to communicate with retainer providers, lawyers, just PR firms, stuff like that.
Okay.
Static plans that aren't updated. So you can do a tabletop exercise with a ransomware plan, but when ransomware changes, I mean, AI always says whenever it writes a post online, I always look online and I find LinkedIn posts saying, in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, it's always evolving. It's true.
Yeah.
But if you have a static plan, how are you going to be able to respond to the incident if it's an old, outdated plan?
Yep.
Then we go into like failure to consider the worst scenarios. We're only talking about, I only want to do a response plan, Jeff, for business email compromise and maybe like, wire fraud.
Yeah.
What about like ransomware or insider threat?
Yeah.
And then it's great. I know companies that have these really in-depth response plans, but they've never actually tested them. So
wow.
How good is the plan if you haven't tested it? So we'll go into like how practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
And then the final one is executing that perfect plan. So now that you've trained on it, how do you execute the plan in a perfect way? And we got a really good talker there too. So what are your thoughts on that? I think that'll be a great way of, talking about the topic and making people more aware of cyber incidents.
Yeah. What I love about it, Alex, is the subject itself. You're breaking it down to where it's like, oh, I understand this. It's in layman's terms. One, two, you've got a diverse range of people and guests from your background, people you've worked with. Makes it even that much more colorful and interesting, quite frankly, and meaningful. So this is we're going on this adventure together. So with this one and the 10 guests plus we'll do a wrap up one. It's a 12-week, basically a whole summer of discussing this as a special series. So a lot of fun, brand new concept for the Safe House, having a guest co-host. But once you whet our appetite a bit with some of the guests you'll have, a couple, three of them, their backgrounds, very interesting folks.
Yeah. So I went and I went throughout my whole career. I have met some amazing people. And so what I did was I selected a few, 10, that have different diverse backgrounds that can talk different parts of the different pod series that we'll be doing. So we have Stu Panensky, who's the founding partner at Pearson Ferdinand, a national law firm, and we will be discussing the legal side of incident response, all the way over to like Ken Fishkin, who's the head of information security at Lowenstein Sandler, a big law firm. So you have the CISO perspective of a law firm, and then you have the lawyer perspective. And then, just to round it out a little bit, we have Paul Carone, who is the head of cybersecurity at a incident response firm called SRM, all the way to Randy Parkman, who's the head of threat intel, or one of the cyber threat intelligence folks over at Proofpoint. So really diverse crowd throughout the industry, throughout the different parts of the industry.
Yeah. Nice. So when you put this all together, what do you hope that people will learn, that our Safe House audience, what do you hope to convey and provide for them? Because, it's a big effort that you're putting into this, and you want to give. What do you hope that people will learn from this and take away?
It's a really good question, Jeff. I think it's more of bringing awareness to the industry. It's been a long time coming where we can get in front and bring visibility to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in one click of the button.
Yeah.
We're in 2024 now, and organizations still don't have a response plan. And to give them the diverse picture of where everyone sees this, all their experience, we're really going to give them a lot of information over those 10 or 12 weeks to talk about incident response planning and preparing, because it's not if anymore, it's when. The cyber attack is going to happen. And so how can we prepare these small and medium-sized businesses with the with the key just pointers, key information, value adds that all these folks have already learned. They're all experienced incident responders, chief security officers, lawyers who are getting to the peak of their career, and they're going to provide that information over to the whole SafeHouse, all the listeners, and that's where it's going to be really exciting to see like how you just look at how one or two of them might look at incident response, and then the other two look completely different from a different view, from a different lens. And you can take that all and write it down and go, wow, there's so many different opinions, so many different ways of doing it, and they're all right. This is how I want to do it. This is how my organization can do it and make it better for our company to be ready for the cyber crisis.
Well, Alex, I really I thank you on behalf of our audience for becoming our first guest host of all time, and hopefully not the last time. So this summer we're going to really enjoy all that and the gift that you're giving to our audience. We do appreciate that, along with all the guests that we'll have that you'll be interviewing and talking through. So thank you so much, Alex, for everything.
Thank you. I really appreciate it and really excited about this.
All right, well, stick with us for next week. We're going to have Ken Fishkin join us, and we're going to talk about that plan that you were just discussing. Please join us next week as Alex and I welcome our first guest, Ken Fishkin, to discuss the importance of planning. I want to especially thank Alex Waintraub for his fabulous contribution to the SafeHouse Initiative regarding incident response, one of the 6 critical NIST controls. That's our podcast for today. I'm Jeff Edwards for the SafeHouse Initiative. Thanks for joining us, and remember, be safe, be resilient, and be kind to each other. For more information about the SafeHouse Initiative, please use your mobile device to scan the QR code on the screen, or send us an email at info@safehouseinitiative.org, or visit us on our website, safehouseinitiative.org. We look forward to hearing from you.